Rent? Rent? Give me rent.
What's up everyone, I am the Kaiju Kiwami, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Yakuza Kiwami. As you recall, I started the Yakuza series not too long ago. I went through 0. I took forever to get my review out for 0, so I'm pretty much already done with Kiwami, and I'm actually probably going to be finishing Kiwami 2 today as of when I'm recording this. So that review probably won't be out too much longer after this as well. For those of you who may not have watched my previous review of Yakuza 0, Yakuza is a series of Japanese crime thrillers centered around the Japanese equivalent to the Mafia known as the Yakuza. Many have compared the franchise to Grand Theft Auto, despite that being a tad inaccurate given you never actually steal cars in this series, nor does it feature an excessively large overworld to roam free in. Instead, it's situated in a centralized area, or areas, that, while are bustling with life, are not ripe with excessive freedom a GTA player may be used to. Not to mention the lead characters cannot viciously beat innocent bystanders to death as they stand up to a specific code of honor that prevents those who are innocent from becoming pointless statistics just to satisfy a Yakuza's personal taste for blood. It doesn't mean there aren't characters who will outright kill for the sake of killing, it just means they are held to a higher standard than the psychopathic narcissists found in America. Yakuza was originally developed in 2005 for the PlayStation 2 and became such a huge success in Japan that it spawned multiple sequels and spin-offs over the last 15 years. For its 10th anniversary, SEGA decided it was time to remake the original game, which had grown quite inferior when compared to modern gaming standards. Additionally, the game was not as well received in America as SEGA had initially hoped, so many missed out on its first installment. Thus, SEGA wanted to ensure the game was given another opportunity to shine to wider audiences while also making a plethora of improvements to fit in the aforementioned modern standards, calling it Yakuza Kiwami. The main series protagonist is a Yakuza named Kiryu Kazuma, voiced by Takuya Kuroda, who was a fledgling member of the organization during the events of Yakuza 0, which took place in 1988.
レイナ、おやっさんは俺に言った。ユミを頼むってな。あいつのことを何か知らないか。
The bulk of Kiwami takes place in 2005, the same year the game originally came out in. Without giving too many spoilers, Kiryu has recently been released from prison after a 10-year stint. As such, he is learning about the world's technological advances firsthand, which does allow for some interesting conversations when he is first informed on what a cell phone is. If you have played Yakuza 0, Kiwami is pretty straightforward in its gameplay features. Unlike 0 though, Kiwami solely takes place in a small section of Tokyo instead of having the ability to roam around a part of Osaka as well. Therefore, you will see the same locales repeatedly without much in the way of variety, which is a shame even though it makes sense given that is how it was in the original game. Thankfully, the 17-year gap has spawned some new buildings as the rundown area of Kamurocho that encompassed the empty lot, an area that was central to the plot of Yakuza 0, has been replaced with a huge skyscraper known as Millennium Tower. Furthermore, while the area known as West Park is still home to the homeless, you obtain access to an underground red light district situated below its seamy overworld that looks like something out of a Kurosawa film. It adds an intriguing dynamic to the environment compared to Kamurocho itself. The 4 different fighting styles from Yakuza 0 are carried over, which includes Brawler, Rush, Beast, and Dragon of Dojima. However, unlocking their abilities is quite different from before. In Zero, you earned money to buy upgrades to each style, while here you earn experience points that are used to unlock skills that can enhance your combos, attacks, health, defense, and so forth. The abilities related to the Dragon of Dojima style are hidden behind more restricted parameters that require you to train with a martial arts master named Komaki and battle Zero's second protagonist, Goro Majima. Majima was without a doubt one of the highlights of this game, as the dude was just a joy to watch every time he appeared on screen. Majima will constantly hunt you down and you have to beat him in each encounter in order to open up new possible attacks for the Dragon of Dojima style. Sometimes you will just have to beat him in combat, while at other times it may be through a series of minigames. The best part of this are the random encounters you will have with Majima, as he may be hiding in the weirdest of places, like a sewer or under a traffic cone.
Nani?
Additionally, he does not always use the same tactics. Besides fighting Kiryu through the 4 styles he utilized in Yakuza 0, you will often find yourself laughing hysterically whether he shows up as a zombie,
Oi.
a disco star in such gaudy clothing, or a cabaret club hostess. And it was at this moment in time when I started to worry about Majima's mental health.
Shantae, you stay.
Like I said, everything dealing with Majima is an absolute joy, even if it can be annoying at times to just have him show up while you are trying to focus on a set objective.
I need an adult.
I am an adult.
Many of the mini-games from Yakuza 0 return, which includes pocket racing, darts, pool, bowling, gambling, such as the likes of Mahjong and Shogi, which I still cannot figure out for the life of me, along with Baccarat, poker, and blackjack. There are no arcade games to play this time around, which is kinda nice given how frustrating they were in 0. Some new mini-games include taking pictures in a photo booth at the SEGA arcade, along with playing a weird paper, rock, scissors card game that features skimpily dressed women wearing insect-based costumes. I know Japan is weird, but damn. Karaoke is back, along with having to impress some hostess through a series of questions for some reason. Thankfully, there is no dancing or outrun. The side missions continue to be fun for the most part, many of which feel like extensions to Yakuza 0 without feeling too much like it is retreading past material. On the downside, many of them are quite basic, with being nothing more than fetch quests, so trying to do too many of them at one time could be a tad boring. For example, there's a multi-part one that has a wannabe Yakuza getting himself in all kinds of trouble in each mission that results in Kiryu having to beat someone up for the dude. Gratefully, Kiryu's conversations with the dude afterwards more than make up for the tedium. Now, some of the more interesting ones include having to talk a love-struck man out of jumping off a building, stopping a cult that was featured in 0 from scamming a new batch of people, not getting drugged by spiked alcohol, assisting an aspiring actress learn about the 80s better, and helping a girl and her family out by buying and selling matches. This quest is quite rewarding, as you will find yourself laughing at some groan-inducing puns. Alternatively, there was one that required collecting 2,000 yen bills from people, and the biggest frustration from that quest was you could only collect the bills one at a time, return to the originator, give him the bill, then go out and find the next one. Yeah, that one kinda sucked. Graphically and musically, the game is on par with Yakuza 0, and while the music did not impress me here as much as it did there, I still enjoyed many of its orchestrations. Even the story is inferior to its predecessor, though once again that can be attributed to it being the one that came out first before Sega figured out exactly what they wanted to do with the series. Regardless, if you have played Zero, you will find yourself feeling sympathy for Kiwami's returning cast, especially those revolving around Nishikiyama. I also want to say there was one really funny scene with Kiryu where he's talking to a girl who's a lesbian and she's like, "Hey Kiryu, you should try looking at guys the same way you look at girls." And Kiryu says, "Oh no, I'm good, thanks, but I'm good." And then we have a karaoke scene of him with Nishikiyama in this like boy love type scenario. On the downside, boss battles are quite tedious as many of them often have you resort to just having to dodge an onslaught of attacks and wait for an opening to hit the boss once or twice before having to rinse and repeat the process. The biggest annoyance was a boss that only fired off a pair of guns, leaving you to run around in circles with the hopes of landing a hit on him between shots. In fact, enemies who wield guns seem to be the bane of my existence in this series. Thank the gods, they are a rarity. Lastly, the heat moves from Yakuza 0 also return, once again resulting in a lot of hilarity when Kiryu does not kill. Seriously, how are these guys not dead? In the end, just like with Zero, I had a blast with Kiwami. Yes, I beat it in half the time it took me for Zero, but since Zero was also my first Yakuza game, I was kind of getting used to what the formatting was like, so this one I was more accustomed to it because I felt like I was just continuing an extension to the same game, which was great, except for having to start my stats over. God damn, did that suck having to start everything over from scratch and being brand new. That's probably the only downside to doing this series in a marathon style because it happened again to me in Kiwami 2, which I'll talk about later, and that game was great. But yes, if you're a fan of the Yakuza series or you're interested in the Yakuza series and you've played through Zero, definitely play through Kiwami. You will not be disappointed. The story is still engaging even if it is a bit predictable. There are some things I did like and it's just overall a fun time. Whatever the case may be, until next time, bye.
Domo, Goromi desu.